All right. Welcome back to 755 Forever. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic. I hope you guys are doing all right. I'm with my co-host, Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. What's happening, Eric?
What's up, Dave?
Well, not much, man. Busy day for the Bravos. They avoided a sweep at Pittsburgh and had the kind of offense that we got used to last year. Two home runs in an inning. Matt Olson hit one in the river. I think
Hmm.
he's one of only a few visiting players who've hit multiple homers into that river, and he's only been in the National League, of course, for a couple of years, 3 years. So it was impressive. But the news of the day, obviously, this update on Ronald Acuña Jr. is brought to you by Gerber and Holder, attorneys who only represent injured workers sponsoring this injury report. Just like these Braves, if you've been hurt on the job, go to www.gerberholderlaw.com. That's GERBERHOLDER law.com. Injury report on Acuña, and it's up in the air right now. You'd like to fill it in and be more certain, but there's no certainty right now because it was a holiday weekend in Pittsburgh, like it is everywhere else. And Snit said they couldn't get an MRI done, which I believe him. I mean, it's a Sunday, a holiday
Yeah,
weekend, a Sunday. There's not a whole lot of doctors sitting around waiting to do MRIs, on a Sunday.
yeah.
So rather than probably take him an hour away or whatever and have to and send him on a commercial flight home or whatever, they just figured they'd wait until they got home to Atlanta to do it. I think he's doing it tonight. That's what Acuña said, that he's getting it done tonight and he'll have the results tomorrow. But whatever, we'll find out tomorrow, not for tonight, not for tomorrow. And I don't know. We were talking about this off camera. With Acuña, you just don't know. I mean, when he blew his ACL out in Miami in 21, it didn't look as bad as when he had the minor ACL strain at Boston in 2018 as a rookie. Because when he did that in Boston, I thought, okay,
Oh, yeah,
he just tore his ACL, his PCL, everything else is gone. I thought he
yeah,
shredded his knee.
yeah. I did too.
And that was just a contusion of the knee, contusion of the back, and a minor sprain of the knee. They thought he might be back in a couple of weeks. So if that it ended up being a month. And he said today, post game, he said there was no pop like there was in Miami. He didn't feel anything pop. And he thought it was like the one in Boston. He thinks he'll miss about that much time. That's just
What?
guessing, I'm sure, but that was the kind. He said it wasn't a lot of real pain.
Well, what did he? Because he was laying on the ground. What did he say he did feel?
Well, that was painful, he said initially, but then it started going away real fast.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, you saw how he jammed his knee to plant. The irony of this, or the coincidence of this, is that when he hurt the surgically repaired knee in spring training, was just irritation of meniscus, is what they said. And he went out and got the second opinion from Elatrosh, the surgeon in LA, confirmed irritation of the meniscus. That was it. But when he did that, remember he was caught in a rundown. It's February 29th, caught in a rundown in a split squad spring training game between second and third bases. Planted with his right foot, planted with his
Yeah,
left, went back and forth a few times, and you're like cringing when he's doing it because he's putting a lot of, a fast guy like that, a strong guy, he's putting a lot of torque on that.
yeah.
Today, he did it between second and third again on a base running thing while he was going to steal third base because he was timing the catcher who saw him through a couple of soft ones back to the
Yeah.
pitcher. So he was going to take off as soon as he let enough of those lollipop throws go. Well, this is the one time the catcher actually threw it harder back to the pitcher, he said. So he decided against it and he planted. And you and I noticed the same thing. He planted with his left foot,
Yeah.
which is and turned his back to the pitcher to go back
Yeah.
to second. Now I don't know if he was just caught between steps, but normally you would think you would
You'd
push
plant
with
with your
your
right.
dominant
Yeah.
with your dominant foot and while looking at the pitcher, right?
Yeah. You'd say squared up to where the ball's at. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a sign of is he favoring the right? You're just in his head he's thinking let's avoid planting with that right knee again if we can. I don't know, maybe because otherwise I
Yeah.
don't know why he would do that. Why he would turn with his back to the pitcher to go back to second base.
It's strange for me watching him because I mean he's so fast, but since he's come back, I've watched on yeah, like when he's got to slow down fast on fly balls and things like that. If he's getting toward, if a wall's closing in
Yeah,
on him, something down the foul line, I've always noticed he still looks kind of like ginger, with that quick deceleration.
Yeah,
Like he's favoring something. That hasn't looked smooth. I mean, I feel like that when I have to slow down fast and I'm looking at the fastest guy,
yeah,
one of the best in the game. And it's always weird for me and kind of catches my eye because I know that feeling where your knees just don't feel like they're firing right. So I've kind of just kept an eye on that. But I also think about, he's just he if when your hips rotate and you're rotating a ton, you put a lot of torque into your knees. And he has probably the fastest hips in the game, and that's his
yeah.
front knee, that left one. So I mean, there's so many things that could be contributing to it, but I hope it's nothing. I mean, I hope it's just like it was in Boston, where it's kind of
Mhm.
scary looking, but not a big deal.
Yeah, he was younger then. He was
Yeah,
6 years, 5 years younger then,
yeah.
and amazing recovery then. He's taken a little bit of a beating since then. For a guy who's only 25, he's had a lot of injuries. Most of them are nagging, little nagging things, but a lot of these knee things. Remember, he also had one where he crossed first base at Truist Park, real similar to Boston, not as violent, but he fell down that one too. And we thought, uh-oh, here we go. He got up and was in the lineup the next day, if I'm not mistaken, on that one. Didn't even, he came out of the game, was in the lineup the next day on that one. So you just can't tell with Acuña. I mean, this one, he said they put him on the 10-day IL. I've not seen it announced yet because they don't normally do that until the next day when they make the
Yeah,
move and the person they call up arrives. But he said they put him on the 10-day IL, which would make sense. I mean, they're not going to risk anything with him. And just from the way he went down, it's obviously he was in pain.
yeah. If you're so as valuable as he is, if you're laying on the ground grabbing something like that, you could say you feel as good as you want or you're not worried about it, but we're probably going to play it pretty safe with you.
Yeah, when they have to send the two trainers out there and the manager goes out there and you have to
Yeah.
be kind of assisted off the field. He was on his own power, but he was limping really, really severely. And he had to stop at one point and kind of gather himself, before he kept going. And he pointed to his knee on the outside of the knee, pointed to the
Hmm.
trainer, said this is where it. And then at that point, he kind of jumped around on his right one a little bit, is almost to test it and go, no, it's fine. You
Yeah, he
know,
probably had some PTSD there a little bit too, like you feel something similar or,
yeah,
I mean, I bet it shook him up just in general because I'm sure you go to not again, as soon
yeah.
as something like that happens, you're thinking, holy shit, I got 18 months of rehab or whatever the rehab time is on an ACL, but it probably took him back to that place when he first felt it.
And he said after the game he's frustrated because of all the stuff that goes on with the knee. He said I think he meant both knees, and he hopes this is not a severe one. But um, he said, yeah, it's really frustrating. But this is also he fouled a ball off this one in Miami. Came out of a game there off the left knee, like last month.
Yeah,
So
that's random, that
yeah.
doesn't.
Um, So yeah, it's like you have a big win. You needed this win, obviously, to avoid being swept by a Pittsburgh team that's got some good pitchers, and they didn't even have their two studs going.
Right.
They didn't even pitch, but the ones they did pitch were pretty impressive. And the Braves got two well pitched games too from Lopez and Sale. They're two studs, and they gave no run support at all to Lopez, and he lost yesterday. Sale comes out today and just dealing once again. I mean, you keep waiting for him to have one bad game and get kind of blown up, and it's just not happening. He's given up one or no runs every time he goes out now. His streak of scoreless inning streak stopped at like 27. And gave up a run
Mm.
today, but still one run today, another seven. He goes 7 innings almost every time. He got 8 strikeouts today after getting 10 or 9 each of his last three. It's just he's just having a phenomenal season, and if he doesn't get pitcher of the month, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I looked at it for May. For May, he's 5-0 in 5 starts with an 0.56 ERA, 32 innings, 45 strikeouts, 2 walks. Oh yeah, he walked a guy today. So
Two walks is
45 strikeouts and 2 walks in 32 innings. He's got a 0.78 whip and a 193 opponent's batting average in May. 5-0, 0.56 in ERA in 5 starts. He's won 7 straight starts. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's impressive, just it's easy for me to sit here and say all the guy has to do is not walk people and he's gonna have a great season. But it's a lot easier said than done. And then if you watch him, he's not just, getting 2-0 and throwing it right down the middle.
Yeah.
He's pitching, he's locating. And with that stuff, the way he's locating and throwing a lot of pitches to a lot of different parts of the plate,
Oh man.
he's just a nightmare for hitters right now.
Oh man. We just got information, dude. And I'm gonna have to cut this short. Ronald Acuña, MRI, complete tear of the ACL of the left knee.
Holy shit.
Surgery to be determined. He'll miss the remainder of the season, obviously. Wow. Um, I am going to have to wrap this up real quick. We can come back and finish this, but I gotta write, obviously. So sorry to break that news to you, fans, if you're watching us live on here, but that's bad. I really did not anticipate that for Acuna. So that's going to be a complete tear of the other ACL than the one he had before. All right, so we'll come back and finish this, but right now we're going to I gotta write. So sorry, 755 forever. And oh, let me do read this. This episode of 755 Forever is brought to you by Field of Dreams Whiskey. Field of Dreams Whiskey is owned by a collective of current and former Major League Baseball players and is committed to putting out the highest quality and purest expression of the Field of Dreams as we can. Visit drinkfieldofdreams.com to learn more. That's fieldofdreams.com. Drinkfieldofdreams.com to learn more. All right. That's a friend of yours who's got that. Tyler Clippard, right?
Clippard and Drew Storen.
All right. So we'll talk again, everybody. And again, sorry about the bad news.